Hey everyone, please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. I thought we'd continue with our series on the Slavers modules, so today we're going to cover A2, Secret of the Slavers Stockade, today on Greyhawk Ragnar. So last week we talked about the first of the Slavers modules, and today we're going to continue carrying on. This is A2, Secret of the Slavers Stockade by Harold Johnson with Tom Moldvay, he of the Moldvay Basic box set. This was originally a tournament module at Gen Con 13, which would have been, I guess, 79, I think-ish. It, like the first one, it has both the tournament version and then an expanded campaign version of the module. You can see that in the maps, where the parts of the map that are kind of shaded in there, those are the tournament areas, and then the areas of the maps in white are the parts that are for the campaign version, the larger expanded thing. One thing to note is that the expanded campaign version of this is much deadlier than the tournament module. You're going to want to bump up the power level of the characters if you're gonna have them tackle that. The comes with the same pre-generated characters as were in the first one. And it doesn't give any background. It gives names and equipment and spells and such, and that's about it. Well, obviously it gives classes and races and stats and stuff, but nothing in the way of background or personality or anything like that. So it's fairly standard stuff in that sense. It does have a number of new monsters. It's got the Phantom, the Boggle, the Cloaker, and the Haunt. All of which are kind of uh, complicated monsters. They have very specialized attack forms. They have really unique powers, and you have to do very specific things in very specific orders a lot of times with these guys. They were all presented later on in Monster Manual 2, but this was the first time they were seen. And one thing I noticed is that not only do they have the the descriptions of how they work in the back here in the appendix, but it also reiterates those attack forms in the text of the module when you find these monsters. So that's an interesting thing that I don't think we see, at least to this extent, in most other modules that introduce new monsters. One little nice thing that might be a first, I'm not entirely sure, but they have what we today would call battle mats. These are tactical maps, they call them here, where it shows the layout of specific rooms where big fights are likely to happen, and they have lots of monsters. So there's this one here has a bunch of wolves and goblins, and this one has hobgoblins, and it shows all of the. I don't know if you can see it. Shows all of the furniture and barrels and stuff like that. So it gives a much more detailed level of the tactical situation than you normally get in a map from this era. The dungeon itself, as I say, there's two versions of it essentially in the book. There's the tournament version and the campaign version. The tournament version is much easier on the players in terms of setup. It just says, okay, an escaped slave left a way into the castle, left a rope dangling, and you can follow that into an abandoned part of the castle, and then you can kind of infiltrate from there. And that really brings up an interesting point about this module. In a lot of ways, from a tactical point of view, from the way that the PC should approach it, this is very much in the same vein as the Giants modules. That is, if you go in there with guns blazing and you just do a full head-on assault onto the stockade, you're even with character levels 4 to 7, you're likely to get wasted. This is not a module that will reward a lot of straightforward fighting. The inhabitants of the castle will fight very intelligently. They say so out of the gate. The humanoid monsters here are by and large lawful evil, so they're going to be a lot more organized than a chaotic evil force would be. They have intelligent leadership, including some of the slave lords themselves are in there. So, from a PC standpoint, this is definitely one where you want to either infiltrate and sneak around inside and kill things under magical silence and then hide the bodies and, kind of put off for as long as possible that your discovery, that you being discovered by the enemy, or you want to go in some sort of disguise, maybe disguised as a merchant caravan with your own slaves or something like that, to go in and try to infiltrate it that way and gain the confidence of the inhabitants. Uh, Again, don't try to just do a frontal assault because it will not go well. Um, Now, from a geographical standpoint, this is a very typical module of the era. It's got a surface level. This is the hill fort, the stockade, and then it's got a dungeon level beneath. And it's pretty standard that way. There is an option actually given in the text where you can just not do the stockade part. You can just assume the stockade has been destroyed and you go directly to the dungeons. That's an option for the DM to do it that way. Um, there are some interesting tactical puzzles in here. There's a lot of traps. There are a lot of opportunities for role playing, even though most of the things you're going to encounter there are going to be hostile. There are enough opportunities for allies or at least neutrals that you can talk to. It's possible in a couple of cases to kind of turn an enemy to your advantage, even without magical aid like charm. So there's definitely opportunities in there to approach it intelligently and from a role playing standpoint, and that it will definitely reward that sort of thing. There are also some really creepy, interesting things in here. This is the debut of the slave lord called Marquesa, who keeps popping up, especially if you read some of the follow-on non-official stuff. There's a whole series of modules from Castle Entertainment that essentially unofficially continue it on. You can tell it's kind of the same. It's supposed to be the same character, even though the name is slightly changed, spelled differently. But if I continue it on, you can certainly do that. And she's a real standout as a villain type character. She's a one of these mad scientist wizard types who does experimentation and body mutilation of some of the slaves, and they're all dumped in these caves and they're called cavelings, and they're some of them are amputated or have limbs grafted on. It's a real body horror kind of thing, and you can really play it up effectively. And she's one of those characters who's obviously designed to keep coming back because she's got like secret exits, and she's got ways of getting away from the PCs, so the DM can bring her back. And that actually in those unofficial Castle Entertainment things, that becomes her trademark. It's like, she's always one step ahead, and she's always got an escape plan and so forth. So it's kind of neat that way. So overall, it's an interesting module. Just it does require a pretty thorough read through before you're going to try it, so you understand how all the different parts fit together, especially if you're doing the campaign version. There's lots of guards in different places, and you really have to get a handle on the map and what parts are what parts go where, and it's just a very it will reward some close study by the DM prior to using it, but it's definitely it's classic for a reason. They revisited it a couple of different times. They did it in a compilation, and then they did sequel to that, Slavers. Against the Slave Lords was the expanded kind of compilation, and then they did a sequel called Slavers later on that kind of took the same idea and pushed it ahead a few years, and built them as a new thread again. So anyway, hope you like this one. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.